Hi, this is Mona Loy, and this is the final part of the human rights segment, and I'm going to be sharing with you number 21 to 30. But first, let me just give you the description. The Human Rights Act is a UK law passed in 1998. It means that you can defend your rights in the UK law, in the UK courts, and that public organisations, including government, the police and local councils, must treat everyone equally with fairness, dignity and respect. Human rights are the basic rights and freedoms that all people are entitled to regardless of their nationality, their sex, their ethnic origin, race, religion, language or other status. And your human rights are protected by law. Everyone has the right to an effective remedy by the competent national tribunals for acts violating the fundamental rights granted him by the Constitution or by the law. So we are going into the final run of this segment, and we'll start off with number 21, the right to democracy. The right to democracy. We all have a right to take part in the government of our country. Every grown-up should be allowed to choose their own leaders. Now that has something to do with voting. Now, well, I believe it has something to do with voting. We're all allowed to vote. And we can all make a choice on who to vote for. Whether or not our choice is heard is something else, because it's to do with who gets the most votes, and then that leader is elected. So that's what that is about. The right to social security. I didn't even know that was a right. We all have the right to affordable housing, medicine, education and childcare, enough money to live on, and medical help if we are ill or old. Now, if that's a human right, why is there so many people on the street? I mean, I think some of these human rights are unrealistic. Because the countries, they just cannot fund those kind of things. So yes, it's a human right to have those things, but when people are in a position, whether because of something they've done themselves or because someone's placed them in that position, how can the country rescue all of them? I guess that's why they have refuges and food places and homeless shelters, so that people can take advantage of them if they want to. So, but I didn't realise it was a human right until, recently. Workers' rights. Every grown-up has a right to do a job to a fair wage for the work and join a trade union. I didn't realise that was a human right. I just thought it was something you could do whether if you wanted to. So it's very interesting about these human rights. And like I said, these human rights are written in law. So if you go to work and your employer says you're not allowed to join a trade union, you can actually take that up as a legal case. So that's quite an interesting one. The right to play. We all have the right to rest from work and relax. I guess that's to do with, where people try to drive, especially with human trafficking and sex exploitation and other forms of slavery that have people working 24/7. They don't get a break. So what this is, it is a human right to have a break. I mean, in modern workplaces, you're supposed to have a break, I think, every 20 minutes, which I think is unrealistic. But at least every 3 hours is reasonable to go out, stand up, go to use the loo, make a cup of coffee, and what have you. And of course, we have our lunch breaks. Some people have 30 minutes, other people like me have an hour. The right to a bed and some food. We all have the right to a good life. Mothers and children, people who are old, unemployment or disabled, and all people have a right to be cared for. These are one of your basic needs though, aren't they? The basic need to have a bed, to have a warm home, to come home and have somewhere to relax and sit down. It's amazing how we take those things for granted. When I put my keys through the door and I decide whether to lounge on the sofa or go upstairs to my bed, I don't see that as a luxury. But when you think there are so many people on the street who don't have that, You know, I've never really seen that as a human right. I've seen that as a kind of a necessity. I guess these human rights are kind of about necessities. The right to education. Education is a right. Primary schools should be free. We should learn about how to get on with others. Our parents can choose what we learn. I know in British schools they teach them about British values and principles and stuff like that. But we all I think education is mandatory, whether it's homeschooling or whether you send children into a school. And we all know from that case where this guy took his daughter out of school to take her on holiday. He was fined for that. So that shows the credence that they put on education, that they're actually fine if you don't take them. And I know there are stringent measures in place for those people who don't send their children to school. It's considered actually safeguarding the children, when they go to school, because children do need to have healthy lives, live healthy lives, and education comes within that parameter. We all have a right to culture and copyright. Copyright is a special law that protects one's own artistic creations and writings. Others cannot make copies without our permission. We have the right to our own way of life and to enjoy the good things that art, science and learning bring. Now, if you're a writer or you publish a magazine like I do, you know that you always have this little clause that says, you're not, making copies, you need permission and stuff like that. So when you produce something and you copyright it or you patent it, that's your right, and nobody can just go willy-nilly and copy it and take it off. I know sometimes when I go on Google and I look at their images, I'm always conscious that you have to look at the license rights, because some of them are copyrighted, so you can't just take them and put them where you like. A right to a fair world and a free world. There must be proper order so we can enjoy the rights and freedoms in our own country all over the world. Oh, wouldn't that be a nice thing? When you think about Ariana Grande and what kind of rights are the people who were knocked over on the London Bridge and the bombs on the trains, and yeah, we have a right to a free world, but how do you manage that in this time of terror and all kinds of things and poverty? Our responsibilities. We have a duty to other people and we should protect their rights and freedoms. I'm not sure about that, protecting other people's rights and freedoms. We could just about manage to protect our own. I guess that's talking about, when people go and protest against unfairness like they did with Grenfell Tower. You need to, maybe it's talking about community cohesion, maybe. This is the last one. Nobody can take away these rights and freedoms from us. Yeah, but they do, don't they? Every day somebody's right is violated. And it's very hard to hold on to your human rights. But now you know what they are, at least you can be more wary that people don't violate them. And you can do what you can to make sure that the privacy of yourself, of your home, of the things that you do, you're treated fairly, you're treated with respect, that nobody takes you for takes advantage of you in any way or exploits you. So just knowing about these 30 human rights, I'm not quite sure if they're all relevant in the UK, but yeah, it gives us an idea about what the United Nations believe our human rights should be. So that's all for now, and I hope you found them useful. Bye.